Is AI just a bunch of garbage, or can it actually help your business? Get a free audit from LaunchPoint, and we'll let you know. So coming back from the Vault Conference 2024, I'm going to give some of my impressions, takeaways. Coming as a software engineer and someone who's been in business and worked in artificial intelligence and machine learning for some time now, I got lots of questions about AI, particularly a lot of business owners trying to figure out how they can leverage AI in their business. I started working a framework that I want to release later that kind of goes over different stages of implementation that you can use for your business to figure out, what can I do? How can I save time or money? How much investment is it going to take? How much time, effort, energy is it going to take? Coming up first in your business, the easiest way to start implementing AI is what I would call with external services. This would be like getting a ChatGPT subscription. It's not going to be directly integrated into any of your existing processes. In fact, it's going to exist outside of your existing processes. But what it should do is be leveraged for time-saving activities. Time-saving activities could be outlining things or dropping in a data set and asking it to aggregate some percentages, run some queries from it. Anything that you would usually do that AI can do faster. This is going to probably require you to do some research on your own, trying out different features. Here's how I would approach this first. If I have a small to medium-sized business, I would get my team together and I would ask them, has anybody here been using ChatGPT, Gemini, or any of the large language models? I would get feedback from each team member on how they've been using it and what it's been successful for. I would also ask who hasn't been using it, why they haven't been using it. Purchasing AI products to have low adoption is not a good strategy. So by approaching your team with this, you're going to get feedback on ways you can encourage people who haven't been using it to use it, start collecting data on where it's useful, and then brainstorm as a group on how you think that it can be best be used. So that's a great way to introduce AI, get adoption, and understand its usefulness. You may find that you'll start to develop SOPs and integrate it and easily see that the cost becomes worth it. If you have a team of 20 and you get a team ChatGPT subscription for everyone and they're using it and it's saving them hours per week, that $20 investment per person should easily be leveraged for more money, even though it's not directly integrated into your systems. In addition to that, you can also augment ChatGPT and other large language models with pre-built or preset data sets. And what I mean by this is a lot of times, you can drop files and pre-prompt it, but you can also create your own custom GPTs, which we'll do a little segment on how to do that in a little bit. But with that custom GPT, you can have pages of predefined prompts, descriptions about your business, things like that. So that way, when you are interacting with the large language model, you're not having to constantly copy and paste and reprompt and re-engage the model. It'll draw from stored data, documents, whatever it is that you put in it. That would be another way you could use an external, like phase one, integrating AI into your business with an external service. Other external services could be BI tools, so business analytics tools where you can upload sets of data, run queries, and build tables and reports off of them. The idea behind phase one is all of the AI products you're going to be using are not directly integrated into your CRM, your invoicing, your lead nurturing, your marketing campaigns. It's not integrated. Phase two. The second phase of introducing AI into your business, depending on the size of your business, is going to be selecting tools where your CRM or the SaaS products you're using have already built AI tools on top. A lot of people are asking how they can leverage AI in their business. AI, by somewhat of its definition, is a technical problem. It's computing hardware, model training, integrating it into your data sets. A lot of the SaaS products out there are heavily incentivized to provide this as a tool for you. You don't actually have to do it. You just need to either pay or leverage it. This will vary product by product to how well they've done in integration or how effective the model is for your use cases. But if you are using CRMs in sales, or your product distribution or your core CRM doesn't have AI as an upgrade or as a feature, it might be worth shopping one that does, especially if you're in a somewhat agile position between your CRM and you have competitors that are pretty close. I'd recommend that, because adding in those tools and augmenting them on your own is definitely going to be a phase or two away from this process. The disadvantage to this particular phase is that a lot of times your different AI tools are going to be encapsulated within whatever the product they were built in. So phase one, GPT, using something like that, you can bring data in from multiple sources and query the large language model. The other thing is that if you use phase two and you're talking about integrating into your data, it's nice because your data is integrated in real time to the model. However, oftentimes it's just whatever data is kept within inside that solution. And you may find that you need or want to aggregate across multiple solutions. That would be kind of a further down the road use case. Phase one and phase two are both very, very easy changes that require relatively no time or commitment on your end. It's just an investment. Getting everybody GPT, Gemini subscriptions, whichever models you think are going to perform well for your company, or using something like AWS Q if you need more like leverage security. Going into the CRM or the integrated ones, or if you have a lead nurturing system or an email marketing system that has AI built in that kind of helps you draft or write emails or do things better, obviously everything is encapsulated. Most of the time I get questions about how to leverage AI to the whole purpose of leveraging AI is to help increase in revenues or increase the bottom line by decreasing overhead, leveraging the technology, either by augmenting or eliminating staff. You're probably not going to find that you're going to be able to eliminate staff effectively. AI in its current state, especially since most people are attributing this to like generative AI or just the LLM pieces, that's going to augment staff. It's not going to replace anybody. When the Photoshop tool came out, where they were doing the generative fills and removing the backgrounds, people were talking on LinkedIn and on X, talking about how this was going to replace creatives. And the reality is it just further enhanced the creatives' ability. They were able to produce more work, do their work quicker, charge more for it in less time, service more customers. These tools that are coming out are more likely than not going to augment staff. There are going to be some more rare use cases where you can fully replace talent with some type of system, depending on what it is. That talent wasn't valued to begin with. And there's also a case to be made that you could increase the quality of your product or service by allowing those people to use the tool and having them increase their output. Phase three is where you start having to focus on your data. There's a couple options you have with your data. Data lake, where you would essentially come up with a place where you could pipe or stream all of your data into a single place and then hook up that data to a large language model, clustering models, different ways of aggregating or querying your data for either business intelligence or making high-level decision making. I think also it's really clear now that we're kind of getting past the off-the-shelf, what you could purchase stuff. It's really clear that there's a big difference between the different types of AI you're going to use. Large language models, or a term that was more popular a few years ago was machine learning, where machine learning would indicate different AI models that would perform high-level analytics. And you have clustering algorithms, you would have regression algorithms and ways of like aggregating data or building tools or doing lead ranking, doing recommendations, things like that for like marketing or serving videos or content. Almost all my questions from the Vault conference were about large language models, generative AI, and how to integrate those tools. So assuming now that you have to really focus on the data, one, you have to make sure you've been collecting it. You can't leverage AI tools if you don't have the data. Getting the data can be really cumbersome or really easy depending on the tools that you have. This is where coming up with your architecture in advance is really going to help you out. If you're using systems that are storing or make your data easy to access, they have open APIs and webhooks and ways for you to sync the data from your different tools together into one place. There's many different solutions you can have for this. You have stuff like Snowflake, or you can, dump it into CSVs inside an S3 bucket. There's lots of different options for this, but getting all of your data into one place so you can then build a tool on top of it. The phase 3 tools are going to look a lot more like cloud-based tools, where you have a tool like AWS Q, where you're going to be able to do data syncs and pipeline data in and augment that large language model with your data sets and maintain that data. So this is where you're actually going to have to start building. You're going to have to build those pipelines into AWS Q or whatever cloud service you're going to use for this. You're going to have to start getting all of the data in there and then making sure it's in sync. You also want to make sure you're not having duplicates, you're not, that your data is cleaned at this point. And so you might have to put in, helper functions, deduplication functions, things like that to keep the data clean going in. And then the training and the building and the distribution of the large language model is performed by the cloud service. This is a good phase 3 for like medium, larger size businesses, because you can take advantage of more custom built tools, including having all of that data or customer data, access to internal support chatbots where they could interact with the AI model about customer history, purchase history, support history, and get generative responses instead of having to go look those up. The other nice thing about these cloud services is most of the time they're able to also source their references. So when the model is outputting the dialogue or the aggregated summary or however it's come up with its conclusion to the question, it's going to link to its source material. So that way you can actually validate that the data is accurate and even update or change your pipelines if you needed to. The fourth one, and this is where you start getting real complex, is where you're either using cloud or like on-prem hardware to start building your own. This gets pretty unrealistic on the economic side for a lot of businesses. There are definitely use cases out there for stuff like this, especially if you need to have high-level security or proprietary information and you have the budget for it, and obviously it makes sense on a cost analysis. Building these custom tools where you are actually training, developing, implementing end-to-end all of the tools, the cost is exponentially greater. For the most part, here's how I'd summarize the AI implementation process for almost any business. Go for the low-hanging fruit. See how your team can use off-the-shelf systems that are relatively cheap, especially compared to building your own things, to augment and save time for each employee on the lowest basis. If you approach it this way, you're going to get lots of feedback on, hey, here's how it's useful, or this is how it doesn't work, or this is where it is. That might even help direct down the road as you go through the different implementation stages on where to put your time, effort, energy, where to invest money in, seeing how your staff is using it. Anyways, summarize, there are lots of off-the-shelf tools you can explore in R&D. For the most part, I wanted this to be educational. I'm going to throw a pitch in there. If you are trying to figure out how you can best implement artificial intelligence into your business, be it any of the 4 phases we went over, this is something we can help you come up with a plan and help you execute on it. We can hand you the tools, help you decide what tools to use, do some R&D, and just provide our expert knowledge in the different technologies and implementation strategies for you, so you can get a complete picture of how it's going to help my business, how we can leverage AI, when should we start investing in our own technologies. A lot of those questions we can help answer. So if you have questions about those, I'm happy if you put them in the comments below. We can help your business navigate and actually implement AI tools to solve real business problems.